At the beginning of the movie, a large spaceship called Borealis is shown traveling through space. It is carrying many people from Earth to another planet. Reaching their destination will take about 4 years. During this time, the passengers do not need to stay awake. The spaceship is controlled by advanced AI technology, so all passengers are in cryopods in a state of cryosleep. They will wake up only after 4 years. However, an unexpected event occurs. A large meteor hits the spaceship, causing severe damage to several parts. After this, the protagonist, Andy, is introduced. He is inside a cryopod, still in cryosleep. Cryosleep allows travelers to remain in a sleep-like state during long journeys without aging or feeling the passage of time. The AI on board is designed to automatically wake everyone when the destination is reached. Andy's cryopod triggers a warning alarm and starts trying to wake him up. As he regains consciousness, the screen on his pod shows images of his family and memories from his life. Due to the damage to the spaceship, Andy's cryopod is ejected into space. To survive outside, he needs a spacesuit. The AI quickly constructs a spacesuit for him automatically. Andy woke up, unsure about what was happening around him. He couldn't understand why the AI had created a suit for him. However, the advanced suit was equipped with all necessary features, including oxygen, as set up by the AI. After completing the suit, Andy's cryopod was ejected from the spaceship into deep space. Many other pods were also ejected, as the spaceship could no longer support life. The AI had decided to eject all pods for safety. Some people who tried to save the spaceship didn't survive. Pieces of the damaged spaceship scattered in all directions, hitting a few pods and causing the occupants to lose their lives. Only a few pods managed to escape safely into space. However, these pods didn't drift into deep space. Instead, they were pulled towards a nearby large planet due to its gravitational force. Meanwhile, Andy still couldn't fully understand what was happening. His pod entered the planet's atmosphere and started falling rapidly. The AI attempted to slow the descent by deploying small wings, but the speed wasn't reduced significantly. Finally, the pod landed on the planet without severe damage. At this point, Andy realized a major disaster had occurred. Looking through the pod's window, he saw a barren, lifeless planet. The surroundings resembled a vast, circular desert. Andy tried to send messages to multiple people asking for help to escape, but he received no response. He felt that no one was listening or able to assist. Meanwhile, Andy noticed that his pod was becoming unstable. It was either about to sink into the loose soil or roll away. Realizing that the pod was not in a safe place, he decided to get out as quickly as possible. However, there were no tools or weapons available to open the pod, as only higher-ranking personnel had access to such equipment. Andy then used a fire extinguisher from the pod to break its glass. When a part of the glass shattered, he tried to climb out, but the pod shook again, causing him to fall back inside. A small piece of glass scratched his suit, creating a tear through which oxygen began to leak. This made it difficult for Andy to breathe. Looking around, he found a spray inside the pod designed to seal leaks. Using the spray, he managed to close the damaged area and stop the oxygen from escaping. While doing this, he noticed smoke rising from different parts of the pod. It became clear to him that the pod would soon catch fire. With all his strength, Andy managed to exit the pod just as smoke started billowing from it. Outside, he was met with an astonishing sight. Their massive spaceship, larger than a football field, had crashed onto the planet. A huge explosion followed, creating a powerful shockwave that threw Andy to the ground. After regaining his footing, Andy asked the AI in his suit about their situation. The AI displayed a screen in front of him and explained that they were only halfway through their journey from Earth and still had years to travel to their destination. The spaceship had been struck by a large asteroid, which caused it to break apart and crash onto the planet. Hearing this, Andy realized the gravity of his situation and felt completely trapped. After the spaceship crashed, Andy decided to explore the wreckage to check if anyone was still alive inside. Upon reaching the debris and thoroughly inspecting it, he realized there were no survivors, only several dead bodies. Since his suit was leaking oxygen, he searched for a small oxygen cylinder or anything that might help. He found one, but it was damaged and empty, so he understood there was no point staying there. He decided to move on to another area. As he left, Andy noticed a blood-stained footprint near part of the wreckage. He didn't know how it got there, but paid little attention and continued on. His primary goal was to see if any of his team members had survived. While traveling, a strong dust storm hit, and Andy feared he might be swept away. However, he managed to survive the storm. That was when he received an SOS message from a distance. Andy followed the signal and discovered a man surrounded by some lights and devices, trying to send a message to Earth. The man's name was Duvan. After introducing themselves, Andy asked what had happened to their spaceship. Duvan explained that they had taken a risky shortcut through an asteroid field to reach their destination faster. Unfortunately, one of the asteroids hit their ship, causing the crash. Duvan had been trying to send a message to Earth, but rescue would take at least 2.5 years. Until then, they would need to wait and survive by moving to the more intact part of the wreckage. As Andy listened to everything, he realized they were truly trapped in a serious situation. While walking and thinking about it, he accidentally stepped on a wire. Duvan quickly told him to connect it, as they needed to send a message. Andy turned and connected the wire. Once the wire was connected, the machines activated, and a signal was sent to Earth. Suddenly, some creature attacked Duvan and took him. But when Andy looked around, he noticed that Duvan, who had been with him all along, was missing. Despite searching, he couldn't find him. Since Duvan was a high-ranking officer, his gun and other belongings were still there. Andy took the gun, but couldn't locate Duvan. Without wasting time, Andy set out to find the other part of the spaceship, as Duvan had previously mentioned. Suddenly, the AI warned him that the oxygen in his suit was depleting, and if it continued, he would die. Hearing this, Andy rushed to find the remaining part of the ship, hoping it would contain oxygen cylinders. At the same time, Andy received another message, signaling that someone else had survived on the planet. He asked the AI to pinpoint the location, but the AI couldn't due to weak signals. Despite trying to reach higher ground, the AI couldn't provide any help. This realization left Andy in deep despair. He became overwhelmed with sadness, thinking he would never see his family again, and that he was stranded alone on this vast planet. These thoughts consumed him, and he began to cry in despair. In the final moments, Andy received a radio message indicating that someone else had survived nearby. The survivor was a woman named Naomi. Andy tried to communicate with her, but the signal was weak, making it difficult for both of them to understand each other clearly. So, Andy decided to move to higher ground in search of a stronger signal. After finding a spot with a better signal, Andy asked his AI to locate Naomi's position. They soon received the location, and Naomi began speaking to Andy. She mentioned that she was trapped inside a pod and couldn't get out. Naomi explained that if Andy could reach her, they would both have enough oxygen to survive. However, the AI warned Andy that there wasn't enough oxygen in his suit to cover the distance. It said if he continued walking, he would eventually run out of air and die. Naomi reassured him, saying if he could somehow make it, there would be plenty of oxygen where she was. Without much hesitation, Andy decided to head toward Naomi's location. It was night, and everything was dark, but he kept talking to Naomi as he walked. Suddenly, Andy heard a loud scream and a cry. He was frightened and asked the AI to scan the area. But since it was nighttime, the AI couldn't scan effectively. Shortly after, Andy lost the connection with Naomi. He realized that he was now stuck somewhere, unable to communicate with her anymore. He thought, I can't talk to Naomi now. The connection is gone. Despite the situation, Andy continued moving forward. His only hope was the light from his helmet, but even that began to fade. The light wasn't functioning properly, and Andy understood that his equipment was failing. With no light and no signal, Andy found himself confused and anxious. He heard the sound of rocks rolling and realized something unusual was happening. He cautiously observed the area, but couldn't see anything significant. As he moved forward, he came across small holes and thought the sound he heard might have been rocks falling into them. Eventually, Andy discovered a large hole surrounded by spider webs. Seeing this, he was completely shocked and frightened. Andy was exploring what he thought to be a desolate planet when he suddenly saw a hole and a spider web, which filled him with fear. He wondered if there could be any creatures living on this planet. Realizing it wasn't safe to stay there, he quickly decided he needed to escape. Andy continued moving cautiously through the area, which was full of small pits and caves. Meanwhile, it started snowing heavily. As he moved forward, he heard a noise and realized it was some kind of animal. He quickly hid in a nearby spot and switched off the light on his helmet, knowing that if the creature saw the light, it would come after him. So, he stayed hidden near a rock. At the same time, Andy started receiving signals from his companion's suits. He tried to send a signal back to communicate, but there was no response from their side. The AI attempted to scan the area, but was not functioning perfectly. Just then, the signal from Naomi came through. After communicating with Naomi and explaining his situation, Andy received a message from his friends. Naomi used her technology to scan the area and found that Andy's friends were nearby, but Andy couldn't understand why they weren't responding. Hoping to see something, Andy activated a flare and threw it. To his shock, he saw a terrifying creature, much larger and more monstrous than any spider he had ever seen on Earth. The sight of it made him tremble with fear. He tried to use Duvan's gun to kill the creature, but the gun malfunctioned. The noise attracted the creature, which began chasing Andy. He ran as fast as he could, but while escaping, he fell into a large pit. Even though the creature didn't let Andy go, it continued to chase him. The creature tried to grab him with its arms, but Andy saw a cave-like space beneath and ran through it. Despite the creature's attempts, Andy luckily managed to escape. Afterward, Naomi asked, "Andy, what happened?" "I heard a loud noise." Andy responded, "I saw a big creature. It tried to attack me, but I escaped. I'm in big danger now," he explained, and Naomi understood the situation. She then asked, "How much oxygen is left in your suit?" Andy checked the oxygen levels and found it was very low, and a small leak had caused a significant loss of oxygen. He quickly grabbed a spray and sealed the hole. But still, he wasn't sure if the oxygen would last until he reached Naomi. At that moment, Andy received another signal. The person speaking to him was none other than Duan, someone he had encountered on this planet. "Duan, where are you? What happened?" Andy asked. Duan replied, "The creature grabbed me, but somehow I managed to escape. I'm hiding now. Please come and rescue me." Hearing Duan's words, Andy remained silent for a moment. Naomi, concerned, asked, "What's going on? What are you going to do?" Andy responded, "There's another person here who has survived, but my scanners aren't working properly. I can't find my way. It's too risky to try to save him." Naomi urged him, "Don't think that way. If you take the risk and rescue Duan, he'll have oxygen you can use. You can survive if you get some of it. Go and save him." Without overthinking, Andy, though filled with fear, moved forward. With his scanners and equipment malfunctioning, it was hard for him to navigate. Still, considering his options, he decided to move toward Duan's location. Though unsure of the exact location, Duan sent a signal. He fired a flare gun into the sky to guide Andy. Following the signal, Andy cautiously advanced. After passing through several pods, he found Duan. As Andy approached to rescue him, the large alien spider-like creature started attacking Duan. Andy quickly hid behind a board. At the same time, Duan called out to Andy, "Please, hurry and rescue me. This creature has a weakness." Before Duan could reveal the weakness, the creature grabbed and killed him. Witnessing this, Andy was terrified. He told Naomi, "After all my efforts, I couldn't save him." Andy then jumped into a nearby board enclosure, hiding silently to avoid making any noise. In this situation, Andy told Naomi that he was trapped in a tight spot. He explained that if he went outside, those creatures would kill him. Andy asked Naomi how he could escape. Naomi, who had a more advanced AI, used it to turn the lights of all the boards around them on and off at specific intervals. Seeing this, the alien spiders got completely confused and started scattering around. At that moment, without Naomi realizing, the light on the board where Andy was sitting turned on. Andy saw someone nearby and recognized that it was the owner of the board, who had died frozen. Quickly, Andy informed Naomi that the light on his pod had been turned on and urged her to turn it off immediately, as the light could attract the alien spiders, who might kill him upon seeing it. However, Naomi had already turned on all the lights at once, which caused the spiders to become so confused that they didn't know which direction to go. Taking advantage of this confusion, Andy ran out from his pod. While running, he realized that the spiders were following him, as he could hear their movements behind him. He felt that 2 or 3 of the creatures were close by. Later, Andy found a place to hide, gathering his courage. At that time, it was snowing heavily, which helped to conceal his hiding spot. The spiders couldn't find him due to the snow. Once he was sure the creatures had gone back, Andy came out of his hiding spot. He slowly stood up and started walking away from the area. The place Andy reached was quite unusual. The ground appeared to be covered in smoke. In various parts of the area, tall and strange structures stood upright. He assumed these could be nests of creatures, but noticed no signs of life. Feeling safe, he decided to move forward. Meanwhile, Naomi informed him that her legs had frozen and were immobile. She was terrified and confused, and her confidence seemed to be fading. Andy tried to comfort Naomi by singing a song he used to sing with his family on Earth. It was a song he sang to calm his children when they were upset. His efforts helped uplift her spirits, and they continued their journey together with renewed energy. As they moved forward, Andy saw a breathtaking sight. The entire ground was covered in smoke, and small blue glowing creatures were floating and flying around. They resembled fireflies from Earth, but were slightly larger and more vibrant. Seeing them brought Andy a moment of joy amidst all the tension. Suddenly, one of the creatures approached Andy. Its color shifted from blue to red, and it started banging against his helmet. At first, he thought it was a minor issue. However, moments later, more creatures surrounded him, their colors turning red as they began attacking him in unison. Andy managed to escape the swarm using his wits. He realized that the planet was filled with dangers and had nothing pleasant to offer. Every moment there seemed perilous. As he proceeded further, Andy unexpectedly fell into what appeared to be a pit. But to his horror, he soon realized it was not a pit, but the mouth of a massive creature. The creature began dragging him deeper inside, and Andy found himself unable to move. Facing what seemed like certain death, Andy had an idea. Remembering the emergency shock system in his suit designed for astronauts in critical situations, he activated it. He pretended to have a heart attack, triggering the system. A powerful electrical shock was released from his suit, which also reached the creature's mouth. Startled, the creature spat Andy out. Andy landed at a safe distance, free from its grasp. Somehow, he managed to stand up. However, he had no idea where to go next. Unsure whether to head south or north, he began walking in the direction that felt right. But once again, he stepped into danger. He accidentally stumbled into a cave, which seemed to be another part of the theme park. He had fallen into a large pit. Inside, he noticed something glowing brightly. It was the same creatures he had seen earlier. Though they looked beautiful, he already knew how dangerous they were. He decided to leave the place quietly without making any noise. Before he could act, the creatures realized there was prey inside their domain. Their colors began to change, and they moved to attack him. He found himself trapped, but with courage and physical strength, he managed to jump out of the pit. However, his suit's oxygen level had almost completely depleted. He realized he couldn't hold on much longer. He told Naomi that he might not be able to save her as his oxygen was nearly gone. Naomi reassured him, saying she was nearby. He reached the broken part of the spaceship and quickly searched for her. Inside, he found Naomi trapped within her board. It wasn't a spaceship, but a board similar to the one he had used to crash land on this planet. Like him, Naomi was on a board. Quickly, he climbed inside to reach her. Naomi's leg was stuck in part of the structure, and she couldn't pull it out. Andy tried his best to slowly free her leg from it. She was in a lot of pain during the process. Later, Andy removed the pieces of metal and other obstacles as much as he could. Finally, he managed to pull her leg out. Since she was in pain, he applied medicine and pain relief ointments to her leg to reduce her discomfort. After this, both of them stayed inside the board. The loud noises and commotion around made them believe that the creatures might come to this area. So they decided to remain inside for some time. During this time, Naomi provided Andy with the oxygen he needed. Additionally, as Naomi was a high-ranking individual, her board contained a few extra pieces of equipment. Using these tools, they decided to move to another location, the part of the spaceship that had crashed. They believed that reaching it would give them a better chance to survive and continue forward. So, both of them got out of the board. However, Naomi was unable to walk due to the severe pain in her legs. But there was one thing to remember. She was a high-ranking person, and her suit was highly advanced. The suit automatically treated her leg and provided other necessary functions. As the pain reduced, they slowly moved forward towards the part of the destroyed spaceship. Along the way, they saw that the area was filled with creatures. However, the creatures hadn't noticed them yet, so they were safe. Then, Naomi made a mistake. She used the gun that was in Andy's hand. Even though she fired the gun, it didn't work, only making noise. At that moment, the creatures noticed them and started moving towards them. Unable to stay there, they ran towards a part of the destroyed spaceship that seemed safe. The creatures were following them. Somehow, they managed to reach the spaceship and quickly got inside. The large door couldn't be closed immediately. Looking outside, 3 creatures were trying to get inside through the door. At the same time, Naomi used the flare gun she had to shoot directly at the creatures. The intense light from the flare gun made the creatures run away in fear. However, as the creatures chased after them, Andy and Naomi struggled to close the door while more creatures approached. One of the creatures managed to slip inside the spaceship just before the door closed. The door then shut suddenly, catching the spider's body and splitting it in two. Though it seemed impossible for it to survive, the creature managed to escape by a thread. Afterward, they carefully inspected the ship to ensure all doors and windows were securely shut. Feeling safe for the moment, they decided to remain hidden in the area. As they cautiously stepped out of their hiding spot, they noticed bloodstains trailing along the floor. Following the trail, they arrived at another section of the ship. What they saw shocked them. The hall was filled with spiderwebs spread across several corners, signaling that someone else had entered this area before them. Suddenly, they heard a sound and quickly hid again. A large spider appeared, carrying the body of a human in its grasp. The creature began tearing apart and eating the body. Andy and Naomi stayed hidden, observing the horrifying scene silently. When they believed the spider had left, they emerged from their hiding spot. However, they soon heard its sound again and realized it was chasing them. They had no choice but to run. They ran into a chamber and locked the door behind them. The spider tried to break in by smashing the glass panel. Although the door held firm, they sat inside, gripped with fear and anxiety. Andy seemed deeply troubled, holding a photo of his family. Naomi noticed his distress and asked why he was upset. Andy revealed that he had lost his wife and child in an accident and blamed himself for their deaths. Naomi reassured him, reminding him it was an accident and not his fault. She thanked him for saving her life and encouraged him not to lose hope. To comfort him, she embraced him with compassion. At that moment, Naomi noticed a small glowing creature in Andy's bag. Meanwhile, the spider-like monster continued smashing at the door, eventually breaking through. With no immediate escape, Naomi acted quickly. She grabbed the glowing creature from Andy's bag and threw it at the spider. The creature turned red and began attacking the monster. Using the distraction, Andy and Naomi seized the opportunity to escape and ran as fast as they could. The monster, however, killed the small creature and resumed chasing them. As they hurried to close a nearby door, the spider lunged at them but missed and fell from a significant height. At that point, Andy made a firm decision, stating that survival was impossible without killing the monster. He told Naomi he would climb to a higher level while she focused on staying alive. Andy ascended and consulted the AI for assistance. The AI identified a specific control board that could be useful, and Andy moved towards it. Meanwhile, Naomi tried her best to evade the monster, following Andy's instructions. When Andy attempted to activate the control system, the AI warned him that powering it on would illuminate the area, exposing Naomi to the monster and putting her in grave danger. Thinking quickly, Andy devised a plan and explained it to Naomi. He instructed her to equip some emergency lights nearby and run toward a designated spot. Andy told her there was no other choice, and she agreed. Following his instructions, Naomi tied lights around herself and started running in the specified direction while the creature chased her. At the same time, Andy entered the cryopod, preparing for a critical move. Reflecting on the accident that had claimed his wife and child, he resolved to risk his life to execute the plan. As Naomi ran, the monster drew dangerously close. Andy timed the cryopod's release precisely, ensuring it would fall on the creature. The cryopod hit its target, crushing the monster and killing it instantly. However, the strong impact injured Andy, leaving him unconscious inside the cryopod. Naomi rushed to Andy, pulling him out of the cryopod. Initially fearing he had died, she desperately tried to revive him. After some time, Andy regained consciousness, and they realized their battle had ended in victory. As the sun rose and light bathed the planet, they looked outside and saw the landscape more clearly than ever before. Believing the eight-legged creatures were gone, they felt a sense of safety for the first time. However, they knew rescue would take 4 to 5 years, as they had already sent a signal for help. Understanding the long wait ahead, they resolved to survive with hope and determination, mentally preparing for the challenges to come. Thus, their story concluded with Andy and Naomi waiting for rescue, strengthened by courage and the will to endure.